You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. This is Trevor Wade. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined, as usual, by the Director of Hunting Ops, Alan Gingrich. How's it going, Alan?
Good. It's a good day. It's snowing outside today, but how can you believe that? It's snowing today.
That made it a bad day for me.
What is it? April 25th today. It is snowing, and 3 days ago it was 80 degrees. So, yeah, go figure.
No wonder everybody's sick all the time with this weather going on. I feel like I've been sick all month.
Yeah, I swear summer's on its way, though.
Well, yeah. What
you had planned for this, did you?
No, the weather is really taking a toll on everybody. I think everybody's psyche, but we do have a fun podcast today to lift our spirits up, and we're going to be talking about the TOC. First, we're going to talk about the TOC finals. We talked about it last week. We interviewed all of our winners, some other people involved in the event. And like we promised, this week we're going to get down to kind of the nuts and bolts of it. We're going to talk about some numbers. We're going to have a bunch of thank yous to talk about, and just go over a lot of fun data that I think people are going to enjoy about the event. Absolutely.
You know, it's a lot of work, and we put a lot of work into it. There's a lot of folks involved that do a lot of work with it, but it is a fun one, isn't it?
It is.
It's fun.
I circle it every year. I always look forward to it. Honestly, when you look at it as just ones that I look forward to every year, the TOC finals and the World Championship finals, they kind of stand alone for me just because, man, we can just enjoy them. We have so much time to get to know the people there and to have conversations with new people and catch up with people that we've known from the past. And, man, and everybody's happy to be there.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you bring up a good point with that because we have a little bit more time. And even this year, even more so because we started it a day early, started on Thursday. The first 2 years, we had 2 rounds on Friday and then 2 on Saturday. We spread it out one more day, and that gives us even more time. And that's what makes it a little different. You think Autumn Oaks Winter Classic, we get to talk to a lot of people, but there's just a lot more people at those events too. But at this event, it does give us an opportunity. If we don't talk to everybody, that's our fault. And we should, and we try to. I think you and I both try to make sure we talk to everybody that's there.
Yeah, you talk about Autumn Oaks and Winter Classic. It just always seems like there's something that has to be done within the next few minutes, and you kind of got to rush through conversations and move on. But yeah, like you said here, you have a little bit more leisure time, downtime, I guess, to do things. Because when you look at the grand scheme of things, putting on a 100-dog hunt, not the hardest thing in the world for us to do, especially with a host club there, getting guides together. So, So yeah, let's start out with the finals. As it has been for the past 2 years, we were back at 3 Fat Labs, in an event barn there in Greencastle, Indiana, and the only downside was the bridges were still out, for same as last year. But other than that, the venue looked great.
I know. I'm pretty sure if we got everybody to grab a shovel, we could have probably finished it off there before we opened it up on Thursday. But hey, they say it's supposed to be done before next year. So, as a matter of fact, I think they're supposed to be finished with it here in the next week or two. So
that'll make life a lot easier for all the participants.
But that's the detour drive back to it is that it's a dirt road, and this year it was a little dry. That first day, and the dust was flying. But that's a nice little drive back along the river all the way back to it. What is that? A mile and a half or something like that. Now the other way around where you're talking about where the bridge is, that's all paved road, and I guess you don't have the dust, but that is a nice little back road to go back to it, though.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable little drive. And always a ton of game on that road. Yeah, we drive through there at night. There's always coons crossing the road. Drive through there during the day. Yeah, you see the deer and the turkeys.
That was the case on Thursday night. A lot of the hunters came back in, and along the river there, a lot of them were seeing game crossing, even some off game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's park it here and talk about our staff a little bit that was working the event. You and I oftentimes are the faces of the program. Get a lot of the credit, but man, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that put in a lot of work. And the first two I'll mention are Vice President Nicole Sedlecki and our National Events Coordinator, Director, Megan Hartmus. They both do a lot for this event, from securing the venue, making sure the dates are good. They're catering the good food for everybody to eat all weekend long. They're there responsible for foods and drinks. They get all of our merchandise and advertisement around the building looking top flight, and there's just a lot goes into it behind the scenes that they do that they don't get recognized enough for.
And we don't have a happier, go luckier person on our staff than Megan.
That's true. Yeah. I always say a couple Diet Cokes and she's raring to
She
go.
is.
Yeah. So.
She is.
But yeah, I think this year it looked just as good as ever. They did a great job, and all the food was top notch. I didn't hear any complaints about that, and they just did a great job this year again. So then we talk about the media team a little bit. We had Keegan Adrians, Bailey Vershoof,
Let's talk
Shannon
about. He
Nardi,
always does a good
and
job. We
Tracy
have to say
Chilson
because
there.
he's sitting right over here on the side here. He counts us down here for this podcast. But no, he does a great job. And all those candid photos and everything. That's
great.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought the social media coverage was just as good this year as ever. When you looked on there, nobody was wondering who won any casts or where to go to find coverage or events or links. So that's always important for us.
Yep. Hey, I kind of stepped in there a little bit. You mentioned the others, Bailey Vershoof and Shannon Nardi, Tracy Chilson. Don't want them to get drowned out there.
I was kind of going to go through them each a little bit here. Bailey, of course, she puts together a lot of our graphics for the live show and different things. And anytime we put together some paperwork that we want to hand out to the customers or mail out to them, that she's always making those look a lot better than I ever could, for sure.
Yeah, and they look great this year again. They always do, but she just went above and beyond for all that stuff.
Yeah. Tracy Chilson, of course, she's not technically part of our UKC staff, but we use her at a lot of events taking pictures for us. And she was there Thursday taking pictures of the top 96 as they confirm their entries. They go around and take pictures, and she always takes a good picture. And people like her. They like her.
She's great about getting a dog to even. Most of these dogs are hunting dogs, and they don't set up the nicest, but she has a knack for even making a lot of those dogs, relaxing them and getting a good photo of a dog. And a dog set up halfway decent is always a better photo. And you're right, those photos look great.
Yes.
That blue in front of the step, the way they did all that looks good.
I thought they turned out great this year.
Yep.
And I saved Shannon Nardi for last. Obviously, she's a huge part of our production team. And that the live show, this is kind of where the live show for us originated a few years ago whenever Bad Butch brought home the first TOC championship. That's kind of where all of our live show stuff started. And she's been the key cog in that machine. And she did another great job this year with our 2 live shows that we put on that we'll talk about a little bit later. But her and her production team that she brings along, her brother Hop, you got Rick and Jeff, one's a producer, one's
camera guy,
camera work.
Yep.
Brandon Feen is moving around doing different camera work for us.
He's the one out in the woods too at night with the big camera on his shoulder, climbing those hills.
That's right.
Going wherever you guys go.
That's right. And I put Clayton Stark right here in this area because he also goes out on the final cast with us. He does some communication with the production team, and also he does his own thing, taking videos and pictures of the event, which we much appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
He does an awesome job for us. And then the last thing,
guy too, great guy.
Talking about the production team is a guy I mentioned the on-screen talent a little bit. Of course, Jay Paul was there as our host for the 3rd year in a row here at the TOC Finals. This year he was saddled again with Steve Burkholder and Rick Stretch as the experts. I thought they did a great job this year. A lot of good conversation, a lot of good talking points, and man, I watched the whole 8-hour show after the event those next couple of days, and I really enjoyed a lot of the conversation they had between those two.
Yeah, I really like those interviews that Rick did outside on the back patio with the cast winners on Thursday as they came in. All 24, he got every one of them as they came in. They'd get back there and they'd you can see all those on their production as well. Rick does a great job with those handlers. Yeah.
One of the new things this year that we wanted to do was something that they titled Coon Hunting 101. Was one of our field reps that was there actually officiating the event as well, and that's Jamie Eastep from West Virginia.
He's just a natural, isn't he?
He is. He's good on the camera. He does a lot better than me, kind of no notes at all, hardly, just a rule book in front of him, and he just navigated a whole segment there, a few segments of kind of talking to the beginners of the sport, which is something that I sometimes forget about personally.
Yeah, we've wanted to do that. We've talked about it every year, and it seems like we kind of sidestepped that a little bit when the time came, really break it down, just the bare basics, because like you said, we do have a lot of folks watching those live streams that really don't know a whole lot about the sport. Maybe somebody's wife is watching from home, or her husband or her kids are handling a dog there, and they're watching this, and then they invite a couple of their friends who know nothing about the sport, so that was good. So we kind of had him do that one-on-one, and I was up there. He recorded that on Thursday. I think it was Thursday, earlier in the day anyways. And I'm talking about Jamie Eastep, his one-on-one on the night hunt rule stuff. But He broke it down. He did one with kind of everything, from tailgate to tree, the scoring from tailgate to tree. And then he kind of broke those down in 4, 5, 6 different segments as well for a little series that they're going to run. But when he broke those down, it was just a natural, He did one. A lot of them were one takers, and as soon as he was done, just tell me when. Tell me when. He's ready for the next one. So he did a great job.
Yeah, after seeing him do it, we'd kind of be kind of foolish not to have him.
He's probably going to take our jobs.
That's right. He's a man that wears many hats for us already, so he's very capable, and we appreciate all that he does for us. And the last one I have on here is John Strickland. Of course, they pulled him in a couple of times to talk about giving a different perspective of the event. Somebody who's been there to compete every year so far, and to kind of give an outside perspective. And I really enjoyed the conversation he brought to the show.
He did. And, John likes to talk, and he's one that was willing to do it. And that's not an easy thing. We can, we've asked a few folks to maybe be available to come on, and a lot of them have been pretty hesitant, so hopefully he was a good one to start it, kind of break the ice, for that, and hopefully some others will see that. And hey, it's not, you just get on and talk like you and I are talking, talk about your hunt, and it's not that big of a deal, but it is when there's lights and cameras and everything, something that you're not used to. We understand. It's kind of tough, but
it's intimidating up there.
It is. It can be.
It's somebody like John who's pretty confident he can get up there and talk about it. But
hey, I will say this: you're going back to Jamie Estep. We're talking about lights and all that stuff or whatever. Jamie's up there after a couple of those segments or whatever. He has to turn around and wipe the sweat off. He's like, "Man, these lights are hot." And the producer told me they're LED.
I had to laugh. A little nerves for him. Huh? He wasn't showing it, but that's pretty funny.
So there you go, Jamie. I don't think it was the lights.
Well, speaking of Jamie, let's shift gears to our event officials that weekend. We had four of our field reps on tap to be master of hounds, and just a great 4 guys. Doug Cundiff right there from Greencastle, Indiana, just close by.
Kind of one of our senior reps at this point. It's hard to believe he's a senior. I think he's younger than I am.
Mr. Philip Foster got to come for the first time from down there in South Carolina, Belton, South Carolina. So he got to come enjoy it for the first time. He really enjoyed himself. Him and his wife Sharon enjoyed their weekend, I believe.
Yep.
Jamie, like we talked about, came over from West Virginia, Elkins, West Virginia, for his first Tournament Champions final. And then our newest field rep, Brandon Scalf, just down the road in Kentucky. He's judged for us at this event before. He's not very far away. We thought it'd be a good idea to come up there. He helped us secure a few judges and whatnot. So he was a big part of the weekend as well. Brandon Scalf from Kentucky.
Retired police officer, state policeman, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of
state trooper.
We were going to get to it here in a minute, but they kind of had a boring weekend. Those 4. With everything going on, we ended up only having one question come back to the Master Hounds all weekend.
I know,
which was kind of incredible given the the height of the cast. We always talk about questions aren't a bad thing. We want to get the calls right ultimately, and it's just a testament to the judges that we had there. That it seemed like most of the calls were made correctly.
Testament to the judges, that's one thing, but also the handlers, being reasonable about things and. We see it all the time, somebody maybe just bringing anything in, just trying to get anything to try any avenue they can, But I think for the most part, the hunters are really on board with being professional, and hey, if you have a legitimate question, by all means, we want to get it right, But if if you're reaching and just being unreasonable about it, let's leave that where it needs to stay, Right. And they have. I feel like they have.
Yeah. That is, you're right. That's a testament to all the hunters that were there.
Absolutely. Yep.
We got to give a shout out real quick to the host club, the Deer Creek Coon Hunters Club there in Greencastle, Cloverdale, right there on the line. They've gladly hosted this event the past few years.
Provide all the guides. They're responsible for getting all the guides for it. Yep.
I put down 3 names here. I know that it's a whole group of people there that do this, but our field rep Doug Cundiff, Tyler Pettit, and Cody Carter. Those are the 3 that we would work most closely with this club. I know that they put in a lot of work getting good, top quality guides. They wanted to get guides who you could score coons on, but your dog would be safe at the same time. And there's plenty of room to, how dogs get spread out now. That was a main priority of them is dog safety when securing their 24 guides for Thursday night, especially.
And the other thing with having it on Thursday now, it allows them to get guides that are maybe a little further away, and a time isn't so much a virtue anymore as far as getting them back for another round. But yeah, I think Doug is going to be quick to say that Tyler and Cody did most of that legwork for all the guides.
Yeah. So
hey, kudos and thanks to both of them, all three of them.
While we're talking about those two guys, they really helped me get a couple judges for the weekend too. I talk about these kind of hunts, or the TOC finals and the World Finals are kind of easier from the standpoint of putting on the event. We have 24 to 26 casts going to the woods. That's pretty easy for us to put on a hunt of that size. Mm-hmm. But the hardest part of it is getting quality non-hunting judges to the event venue. And to do that for us, especially on a Thursday night. And over the past couple of years, it seems to be getting more challenging to do so. So I want to take time, and I want to thank the guys who did come out and help us out with that. I know they had to take time away from their family. They may have had to take time off work. They may have had to sleep for only a couple hours before work the next day. They all sacrificed something to be there just for us, to help us out, to put on a quality event. And man, I sure can't say thank you enough to this group of people.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I'll start out with the guys who judged 4 casts for us over the weekend. That's Jeremy Cox, Jason Bryant, and Brian Smith. Those 3 guys judged all 4 rounds for us over the weekend. We had 3 people who judged 3 casts over the weekend. That's Cody Carter, Tyler Pettit, and Cody Sipe. We had a handful of people who judged through Friday night for us, meaning they judged rounds 1 and 2 and ended up taking off after the cast on Friday night. Keegan Bays, Chase Blevins, Eric Bowling, Jeremy Kidd, Logan Rose, and Jason Smith. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for Friday night. And especially there's a good list of guys here for round 2, for round 1 on Thursday night who could only come for one night. You're only coming for one round. It may not pay off for them financially or whatever, but we try to, we give a fair amount, I think, for judging the cast. We always try to help out with gas a little bit, or if they're sticking around, we'll get them a hotel room or whatnot. But here's our list of guys who judged on Thursday night for us: Dean Daughtry, Matt Lingo, John Stieber, Kevin Cable, Derek Bryan, Bryce Matthews, Jared Lehman, Tom Lynch, Chris Girth, Andy Canada, Austin and Will Lane came, and Jared Miller. Mm-hmm. So, and some of those guys, heck, we had to wait. We didn't even get them on the books to do it for us till Wednesday evening, Thursday morning even.
Yeah, there were several of those, but yeah, you're right. And the one thing that I did hear from 1 or 2 of those is that came and drove a good little distance to help us out. Is hey, I compete in these type of events. And instead of complaining about judges when you're not in it, I'm going to go help out. And man, that means so much. And there's a lot to be said about that. And some of these guys that don't get to be in that top 96, if they're good judges and can get away to help us out, man, it means a whole lot. A lot of those guys that are handling dogs week in and week out, those are some of the stronger judges in the country, around the country, so really appreciate that, really do. And we appreciate them having that outlook like that, And the other thing that I like that we do here, and we should probably do it a little more often, we have a judges meeting and we kind of put some things up on a screen before we send the judges out. And I just think it just helps a great deal. Get everybody on the same page. We cover a couple things, just some little reminders, and I think it helps a great deal.
I think it helps get ahead of any issues we made. And probably a big help. Things that you may not think about when you're there at a big venue. There's a lot going on. You got some of the best dogs and handlers in the country there. Are you going to remember to do a pre-cut loose collar check to get ahead of that problem before it ever occurs? And just little reminders like that, I think.
Yeah, and that's a good example. Okay, that's not something you see a whole lot, but I'm all about that, eliminating issues, potential issues before they even happen. And checking collars is one of those. And you know what? They had one that was and was just they eliminated a potential problem.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to see is somebody get scratched. And unfortunately, you might have a few people try a little this or that, but hey, all worked out.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
That's right. So we'd be remiss not to mention the guides who also do the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of them are close by.
Yep.
They probably don't take time off work. They stayed out all night to help us, went to work the next day, then came back again to help us guide. And they put us, as we're going to talk about after we mention their names here, we're going to talk about all the coons that we scored. They did a great job. And it got in 3 casts over the weekend. Tyler Pettit, Cody Carter, and Bishop Stalkop. Got in 2 casts this weekend were Mike Comer, Jim Minnick, and Bob Stalkop. And then got in 1 cast this weekend was Dean Daughtry, Kevin Cook, Dwayne Carpenter, Derek Bridge, Tracy Inslee, Chris Comer, Brad Hall, Justin Haddon, Tom Hacker, Matt Newport, Tom Lynch, Jesse Peacock, Bucky Ashcraft, Bobby O'Neill, Devin Yealy, Steve Sheldon, Jeff and Chloe O'Neill, Brylan Jones, and Mr. Doug Cundiff judged our final cast for us on Saturday night for the final. Guided the final cast for us. So
I think you just said the same thing I did. I think on the during that live stream on Saturday when I announced the first report, I think I said the same thing that Doug Cundiff was judging. I meant to say guiding.
I did. Yeah, you're right. I did catch that.
There you go. Hey,
once
you just did it too.
Once you get to running, sometimes mess up on that stuff. But I actually got some coon scored numbers here at the finals, and man, what a weekend! Testament to guides, and also a testament to how good the dogs that were there. Round 1, of course, there was 24 casts. We ended up hunting 93 dogs. We had 3 dogs that couldn't come, whether they were in season or something came up with the handler not being able to be there. So 24 casts. We had 3 3-dog casts. Over the 24 cast, 140 coons seen, 102 scored. That's an average of 4.3 coons scored per cast on that first round.
You can't beat that.
And it was dry.
Yeah.
And tracking conditions weren't great. And still, just a great night.
The time of year, the time of year too is just good. Often, most times, either they're going to be there or they're not.
Yeah.
Scoring a tree is not that difficult. Either they're there or not. And it's you get a group of 96 dogs like that coming there. I don't know how many, if you did any research as far as how many slick trees or how many minuses, circles, and this and that, but probably not going to be as many minus trees as somebody might think.
Yeah. Moving on to round 2, where we had 6 4-dog casts in round 2 on Friday night. We had a little bit of rain that day, and I thought everybody really thought that was going to help tracking conditions a little bit, and I think it did a little bit. Over those 6 casts, 31 coons seen, 27 of them were scored, and that comes out to an average of 4.5 coons scored per cast in that round 2.
Same thing. You're just slightly better than it was the first night.
Yep. Moving on to the early round on round 3, where there's just 3 heads-up casts, and I know that this is going to be altered a little bit because we did have 2 withdrawals. So 2 of the casts didn't hunt for the full 90 minutes, but still, over the 3 casts, 12 coons seen, 7 scored, a little bit over 2.3 coons scored per cast in the heads-up round in just a 90-minute cast. And then on the final cast, we saw 4 coons. Whenever you're walking to a bunch of split, we probably could have treated more, but we just walked our guts out from split tree to split tree, wasting a lot of hunt time. But still 4 coons.
You mentioned round 3 there, that 90 minutes. But the other thing you mentioned briefly there was a couple of withdrawals that they didn't even hunt the 90 minutes. But that's because of the new full elimination rules. That once a dog is the only dog remaining in the cast like that under full elimination format, that dog the hunt's over. That dog is the winner.
Yeah. How much negative feedback did you receive over the weekend over the new full elimination format?
I'll tell you exactly how many. Zero.
Yeah,
they love it.
Yeah,
they love it. It makes a whole lot of sense to those guys that are hunting in those type of events. And what's the sense of out there banging a dog banging around for whatever more after he's already beat his competition at that point? So they loved it.
When you break it down and look into it and see the reasons for it, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Sure does.
And to just put a bow on the coon score there on the finals, over the 3-day event, 4 rounds in Greencastle, 187 coons seen, 140 scored, 4.1 scored per cast, over 34 casts.
Yeah.
Great job to all the guides. Great job to the host club securing good quality guides. We appreciate you. Just want to thank you again for that.
Absolutely.
Alan, we both had Dogtra Pathfinder 2s now for a little while. What do you think about yours?
I'm liking mine. One of the things I had the opportunity to now download a map of an area where I did not have service, and I've used it there, and it has worked flawlessly. I love it.
Yeah, I love the crystal clear maps. I love that I never lose reception on my dog's collars anymore. Highly recommended by me as well. Dogtra Pathfinder 2, the official GPS collar partner of UKC. Yeah, so I think we got a lot of our thank yous and some of our shout outs out of the way. So I thought it might be fun to look at some of the data from the weekend there in Greencastle when talking about maybe how did the different regions fare, how did the breeds fare, and then talk about some of the other ins and outs of it. So let's get right into that. The first thing I have here is talking about how each region fared as far as the dogs that they advanced. So let's start out with Region 1. Pretty much the dominant region of the weekend. La Plata, Missouri, they advanced 18 dogs from their region. On the first night, 8 of the 18 won their cast. That's a 44% of the dogs that came from that region ended up advancing to the second round.
Yeah, I was out there on the back patio there where some of the first cast winners were coming back, and Rick was interviewing them out there, and I was thinking, man, when he's asking them, a lot of them were saying they came out of the La Plata zone, and I'm thinking, good gosh, that must be a solid region right there, but 8 dogs.
Yeah. That surprised me. I think beforehand, I kind of thought that when looking at the entry list, LaGrange just looked loaded to me. And I don't know if that's because of where maybe some of the major events that I go to and I see these guys over and over again, but I thought LaGrange looked just loaded. And you were actually there, but LaGrange ended up advancing 15 dogs. Of the 15, 3 of them made it out of the first round. So not the best showing, 20% of them, but not bad. They were represented.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned I was over there, during the region part of it 2 weeks earlier. And man, I don't know, it's been a while, since I've been able to compete. I used to be ate up with it. It's what I love to do, and to go there kind of in my hometown, home crowd and everything, walking in there, seeing all those. There was very few people I didn't know, and man, it kind of hits you a little bit.
Yeah.
It was just like, gosh, I wish I was one of them, get on in something like this, it really did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Getting us sidetracked here again.
No, that's a good point. I remember you telling me about that. I'm glad you hit on that because I feel that oftentimes as well. TOC finals on Thursday is one of them whenever everybody's getting their picture taken, and I've never been to that. I've been to the World Finals before when you're in the line to get your picture taken, and it's just those butterflies. That's a different feeling. To feel like you're right on the cusp of something special at that point. Moving on to Region 3, Mount Gilead, Ohio. The largest entry of all of them. They advanced 21 dogs out of their region. 4 of the 21 ended up winning their cast. 19% of them advanced to round 2.
Yeah, LaGrange is the one that we added this year because of Mount Gilead. They were just loaded, the first 2 years with them. Last year, I think they had close to 300 dogs.
289 pre-entered last year. That's just too much.
Yeah, but what a good area for an event like this. And those guys do a great job over there getting guides and everything else. But yeah. So yeah, advancing the most, 21. They still had the most, even though we broke it up with LaGrange, Indiana. They still had the most over there.
Lancaster, probably our second best performing region after round 1. They had 16 dogs advance to the final, and of the 16 of them, 5 of them advanced to round 2. 31% of the entries.
Yep. Second, like you said, second to only behind La Plata there, as far as number is advancing.
That's right. Conway, they had 14 dogs advance to the finals from the Conway, Arkansas region. 3 of those advanced to round 2 after Thursday night, so that's 21%. And then bringing up the rear was the Georgia boys down south, Comer, Georgia. They had 12 advance to the final. 1 of the 12 advanced. Old Preacher Man, he was the lone survivor after round 1, only 8%. But Preacher Man was holding strong for him, and after round 2, I thought it was really neat. We're sitting there on Saturday kind of looking at the final 6 and combing over them and getting different information from them. And when you broke it down, the 6 dogs, each from 6 different regions, each region was represented there in the semifinals.
Yeah, that was pretty neat, really. It really was to still see, all the way down to the heads up round. There was still a dog from 8 dogs, and there's 6 dogs, and every region still represented. Yeah. We couldn't have drawn it up like that.
No, that was best case scenario, really, to see one from each region kind of go at it like that was pretty fun. And then obviously the 3 that advanced to the finals, Ohio, Indiana, and Arkansas, with the LaGrange, Indiana dog Hobo bringing home the big win for the LaGrange, Indiana region. So,
yeah.
thought that was a little fun tidbit there.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about breeds a little bit. Obviously, a lot goes into the if you hunt a certain breed pretty steadily, used to be a red bone man, take a lot of pride in how red bones do, even if it's not yours. For me, I've always liked black and tans. I always keep a keen eye on how black and tans are doing in major events. So I'm sure people enjoy this. Obviously, Tree and Walkers had the most advanced to the finals. 76 of the 96 dogs were Tree and Walkers. After round 1, 17 were still standing. For a total of 22% of Tree and Walkers were still there. So 17 out of 76.
Yep.
Blue Ticks kind of stole the show there on
They did. They were well represented here. 7 of them entered, and
4 of them.
4 made it after round 1. 4 of the 7.
Yeah, I thought that was really impressive.
Two of them ended up drawing each other in the one cast, and I think the other Blue Tick. I think I'm gonna have to go back and look at the scorecard, but I think he was second in cast.
Yeah, Crowder and I think it was Thief.
Yeah.
Of the English, there were 7 English. Only one of them made it through the first round. That was the Boomer dog there from Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
None of the black and tans were able to win in round 1.
Right.
There was only 3 there, and none of them were able to get a round 1 cast win.
Yeah, that rock dog, I expected him to make. That dog wins quite a bit, and I thought that one I was kind of watching him a little bit.
Yeah. But if he keeps making it there, he's bound to make a run at it.
Yep. Seems like he's showing up at this hunt a couple times now, and also the World Finals, so yeah.
And the X-Breds. 3 X-Breds there, and 2 of them made it out of the first round.
Yeah.
Master P and Preacher Man both made it out of the first round.
Yeah, speaking of that Master P, I've never seen that dog before, that the owners, handlers are pretty good guys. I kind of got to know them a little bit there, and you mentioned Clayton Stark was there, and he videoed a lot of that. He went out on some of the semi-casts or semifinal casts, and that Master P dog was one of those, and that's a female. Actually, I thought it might be a male, but man, she is a tree dog.
Yeah. Out of Power Trip, who was a finalist in the first year.
Exactly. Power Trip, and then a Blue Tick female.
Yeah. Yeah, Cody Carter, I think, judged the cast there in the round 2 that Clayton was out filming in. And Cody's one of those honest guys. When he comes back, he's going to tell you what he thinks about a dog, and he really liked that dog. So that kind of goes a lot for saying what Master P can do.
Yeah, and you can watch all that. That's up on Clayton Stark's page right now.
So after the second round there, after round 2, we were left standing with 4 Tree and Walkers, a Blue Tick, and an X-Bred that comprised our final 6, our semifinalists. And the final cast had 2 Walkers, and for the first time ever, a Blue Tick. Actually, the first time we ever had a non-Walker dog in our tournament champion final cast. So that was pretty neat, and you could tell on social media it meant a lot to all the Blue Tickers, and most of the non-Walker folks were on there, all lobbying their support for Crowder and Mr. Travis Deal.
And that those heads up, those 3 cast heads up, I don't know. I just really thought the matchups were so well matched.
Yeah.
On paper, anyways. You never know what's going to happen, but on paper, and speaking of the draw, the handlers actually draw their own casts. When they came in Thursday, when they signed up or confirmed that they were there, they already got drew their cast number. And when entries closed, the casts were all drawn, and every round we did that, So the handlers drew their own cast, and that's the way it landed, But I thought the matchups were just great.
Yeah, they were. Couldn't draw it up any better.
Oh yeah.
As soon as the X-Bred and the Blue drew each other, you're thinking, man. So our final cast is going to have some color in it. So
yeah.
But yeah, great three great matchups, 6 great dogs, 6 great handlers. It was just it was a fun Saturday night.
The one, Joe and little Lacey, and Casey and Casey, Casey Stallard, Casey Maggard. Yeah. But, and then obviously you mentioned Crowder and the X-Bred.
Yeah. The 2 big, loud Walker males going against each other.
Yep. Hobo and BTO. Yeah. It's just, I don't know how you would have, if you could have just wrote up the matchups, it's probably about what you would have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's talk about those 6 dogs a little bit. Give them a little bit of their due. Let's start out with maybe our losers from round 3. Maybe first one I see here is our X-Bred Grand Night Champion 4 Bad Habits Preacher Man. Caleb Griffin owns him from South Carolina there, Georgia, South Carolina area down there in the southeast. And this one's obviously out of a dog that's a well-known Grand Night Champion, Bad Habit Sam. No stranger to the winner circles in multiple registries. This dog's won a lot there. He's if you're looking on the front page, right?
Yeah, there it is.
Down. The bottom side here, do you know much about the tree slamming stylish Frankie dog or Drifter's Black Pearl?
No, not a whole lot. I think I've heard of that stylish Frankie dog, but I really don't know a whole lot about him. You know, the top side, I know a lot more about that. Some of that Bad Habit Sam, obviously that was an X-bred dog off of old Bad Habit.
Yep.
Which Bad Habit is a dog that has just won a lot. That was a good hound right there. But this pedigree right here is solid, solid pedigree.
One of our other semifinalists who made the top 6 here was Big Time Overdrive, Grand Night Champion 2, Big Time Overdrive that the Binghams and Nick Snodgrass own up there in Iowa. Snodgrass is from Nebraska. Man, he's bred out of this world.
He is, you know, the bottom side, half-breed trader, stylish Bella, you know, but in the top side, I don't know a whole lot about that, you know, but I know the bottom side is, he's no accident either. Now, he's probably not going to win a whole lot of bench shows. I know somebody was it on the live feed or had the picture of the dog or something. I think somebody asked in the comments there, is that dog, has he got any bench show titles? But it was kind of funny. But hey, he's a coon treer, obviously, you know.
Absolutely.
Big old treeing machine right there. Yeah. BTO.
He is, and I think he just ran out of gas. After listening to some of Jeff's interviews, sound like he may have just ran out of gas. I haven't talked to Jacob myself, but
yeah, just kind of, you know, just circumstances, you know, just kind of went the wrong way right out of the gate, and hobos up on him, you know, and it man, that changes the tide pretty quickly, you know, and yeah.
And then our last semifinalist that didn't make it through, Little Lacey. Don't need to talk too much about the top side here. Rackham Willie. My goodness, the things that he's doing right now in the reproduction ring, just in our registry, is just incredible.
Yep. Crazy. The bottom side, the Jam and Holly female is Lacey's mama. I know her, Sire Trick Magic. You know, that was a good hound too. But yeah, that's another good pedigree right there. Yeah. No accident for sure.
Not.
Yep.
Our third place dog, Little Joe, the Stallard's own, Rick Marshall, those guys. Out in R&R's knee show, Cuz keep seeing that name over and over again
every year here at the Tournament of Champions. Seems like he's had several outstanding dogs here in the finals for sure.
Yeah,
Hardwood Elvis Attack. I know on the live stream, Rick started talking about him a little bit, you know, and that was a dog that did a lot of tricks. He knew, like, I don't know, 36, 37 different commands. You know, he was a smart old coonhound right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, a Grand Night champion. He wasn't just smart. He was a coon treeing machine too. Old Elvis Attack. Yep.
Yeah, and here we have our second place dog, Night Champion Rockin' R, Honest Crowder. I know in the live show, Steve went pretty in depth on this dog's pedigree. Obviously, I'm not as familiar with this dog's pedigree looking at it, but Bo Diddley is one that we're going to talk about in a minute, who had multiple dogs in this TOC finals. So he must be holding up his own. And then if you look at the bottom side, the Honest Poison Ivy dog that's the dam of this Crowder dog is straight out of Bo Cephas, who is has an incredible reproduction rate right now.
He does. Bo Cephas and Bo Diddley, for that matter, too. Both of them do. And the same thing here again, just bred to the hilt.
And then our winner, got to listen to Jeff talk about it on a podcast just a little bit ago. Talk about his pedigree and Mike Gilbert and just the line of dogs that he's having there. But Grand Night Champion Strix Hard Times Hobo. He's out of Night Champion Busrow Creek Josie Wells, and the dam is Busrow Creek Casey. Both from there in Indiana.
Yeah, so the Finley River Jeb dog, that dog's is from the same area there, you know, and that's obviously what Josie Wales is off of. But yeah, just he's a, you know, Jeff talks about it. They had him since he's been like 15 months old, and he came from Mike Gilbert there. You know, he's kind of trains a lot of young dogs and everything. So he was, I listened to him too last night when I was out running my dogs, listened to a podcast that he was talking about this when they went to get him, you know, and it's interesting how those guys go. Look at young dogs like this. You know, they're looking for their next, you know, winner or whatever, and they go out and they want to run the dog by himself. You know, on the same night they, you know, turn him loose by himself, and then they put another dog in with him, and then they put 3 other dogs with him. You know, and how they really test him out. You know, and how he just impressed them. You know, at 15 months old, and you know, going to his last tree, he's talking about you know, John staying up at the truck writing out the check. You know. Pretty interesting. Yeah,
if you haven't checked that out, Steve Fielder, Going to the Dogs podcast with Jeff Rickliffs that just dropped. Yeah. That's a good interview. I really enjoyed it. Jeff is, I've only got the chance to know him a little bit over the past year probably, And man, what a nice guy, and he's one of the good ones. He's a guy that you can easily root for.
Yep, he's a dog man. He's a handler. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's always going to have a good dog. He talks a lot about his bad luck with this dog. It just seems like he's just lost a lot. He just couldn't buy a cast. He's just always there. It's not like the dog is off or anything. He talks a lot about, just losing on a tiebreaker, losing by 25, and a lot of them like that. And it's just like, man, what's wrong here, but there was nothing wrong here at the Tournament of Champions with that dog. He went out and he was clicking. He earned it and looked impressive doing it. And he talked about never made a circle tree. Every tree the dog made in the tournament had a raccoon in it.
Yeah, and that says a lot. There was not much foliage on the trees at all.
Yeah.
There's not much room for mistakes, and he did not make one.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes to win a major hunt like this.
And it's not like he just, Jeff was talking about a little bit with Steve that, the scores don't always tell the story, because he said a couple of those casts were actually closer than what it looked like, like the first one on Thursday night, it came down Hunt's over and he's sitting through their tree and he has to have a coon to win that cast. And obviously he did, but they weren't all easy.
No, absolutely not.
For sure. Yep.
Well, while we just went through the pedigrees there, let's talk about some of the sires and dams who really had a great weekend as far as dogs advancing to these finals. And there's nowhere else that we can start besides World Night Champion, Grand Night Champion 2, Gray's Rackham Willie. 6 of the 96 dogs were out of Willie at this hunt. Seems like we talk about this World Finals, TOC Finals every year. It's just incredible what this dog's doing.
Yeah, and I interviewed, or I talked to J.R. Gray on the last episode. You can hear that interview with JR, but we talked about Willie, and that just amazes me how that all happened. A young kid, he's green, comes to the World Hunt, brings this Willie dog, ends up winning it, and look what he's done since then. Yeah. Just a solid reproducer.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for him coming, which he almost didn't, I don't know where we'd be.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's made a solid positive impact on the breed for sure.
Yeah, let's mention these 6 dogs real quick. Willie's Smokin' Joe, Stevenson's Willow, a Little Lacey who made it there to the top 6, Split Tree and Trigger, Willie's Insane Scar, one of the betting favorites before the event, and Raising Cane. Great weekend for
6 of them. Impressive.
We had 4 different sires that advanced 3 dogs to the finals, which is impressive among itself. The first one here, Grand Night Champion Lone Pine Muscle Tracks, had 3 dogs advance to the final. Miller's Lone Pine 2-Track, Lone Pine Patty, and Ringtail's Forever Ann. It's impressive.
Yep.
One that we've talked about a little bit already, Grand Night Champion R&R's Knee Show Cuz, had the shocker Little Joe, who made it all the way to the final cast, and Thunderbird's Dominator, who was on the final cast last year.
Yep. And a lot of people had him picked to go far this year again.
This next one here is one from your country, right? This dog is really making a name for itself.
Yep. Daniel Wilson's hound. Wilson, Schooner River, Fred Bear.
Had 3 dogs advance to the final. Johnson Creek Gabby with Nick Immel, who made it to the semifinals last year. Night Champion Blackwell's Crash. And Night Champion Kickstart My Heart, who came into season before the event. Didn't get to compete here.
And that Jip has been winning a lot all the way up to here. It's too bad, because she's been cranking, and just came in season here before this one. Couldn't be entered or what have you. But, yeah.
And rounding out those sires with 3 pups in the finals, old Power Pack still around.
Yep.
Had the National Grand Night Champion Sundown, a.k.a. Apollo, in the top 96, Night Champion Timber Rock and Hannah from over in South Carolina.
Yeah, Mr. Crawford's dog, he always has some good females there, and Hannah's one of those. Yep.
He does. And Night Champion Power Switch. And real quick, we'll just mention there's 5 sires here that had 2 pups in the finals each. Like we just talked about, Grand Night Champion 2, Homebrew, Blue Bo Diddley. Grand Night Champion Walston's Blue Big Country. Grand Night Champion Big Money. Tree and Walker that Kevin Cable owns over in Indiana. Grand Night Champion Money Max Out of Big Money. Also had 2 dogs in the finals. And then Grand Night Champion Wipeout 3 from down in the southeast Georgia, that area. I got 2 through to the final. So, and then one of the more impressive things that I saw over the weekend, they did talk about it a little bit on the live show here, was this female. Grand Night champion L&L, she's out of your league. Libby advanced 3 dogs to the finals, all 3 out of different males.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat there.
Yeah,
and you're familiar with these dogs a little bit.
I am. You may not even know that. That Libby dog is only maybe 20 miles from the office here where she's at. Yeah. So, but yeah, she's a nice little female there and had three pups in the finals. 2-track, whacked out little Libby and the drinking bone dog.
Yeah.
That little Libby, Arnett's whacked out little Libby, that is the dog that Maddox Arnett hunts.
That's right.
And he's at 14.
Yeah.
I think 14 years
14
old. He
years
was
old.
there second year in a row that he made it to the finals. Yeah.
Impressive kid.
Yep.
And then we also had 3 females that had 2 pups in the finals each. That was champion Georgia Piper, Grand Night champion Johnson Creek Abby, and stylish Bobby Sue.
Yep.
So good job by all those breeders getting multiple dogs in the finals. That is not easy to do.
That's something that I'm really into seeing breeders do well with their offspring, in big events like this. So kudos to all those breeders and folks making these crosses that are doing well and making good choices in the breeding pens.
Yeah, getting them in the right hands too. Yep. That seems to be
absolutely
the biggest part of it. So, and real quick before we wrap up our conversation on the finals and kind of move to talk about the regions, the regional aspect of it a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about returning dogs. I made a list of all the dogs that have been to it multiple times, and I just thought it was impressive. Kevin Morehouse and his Willow female, 3rd year in a row that they've been here. 3 years of the TLC finals, they've been there every year so far.
I kind of forgot. I was talking to him there this year about Willow, and I forgot that he was pretty green that first year he had Willow there. He just kind of lucked in, kind of a beginner's luck for him, but yeah, here she is again.
Yeah.
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
Yep.
Her and Grand Night champion 4, Old South stylish knockout.
Hey, and she's off of Willie, It's one of those.
Yeah. That's right. One of those Willow pups. The only other one to have done that is owned by Chris Bolin of Kentucky. That's Grand Night champion 4, Old South stylish knockout.
Yeah. Yep.
Another one who's a contender every time he shows up.
Yep. And his boy actually helped me with helped me draw on the cast on Thursday night.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. Jacob. Yep. He ran
you put him to work. He probably ran a mile up and down those stairs.
He did. He ran the cards down there.
But so shout out to those guys. We had a bunch of dogs there for a second time, like you talked about earlier. Redmond's Black Rock is there for the 2nd year in a row. Heartland Bonnie, Zach McBee and Eldon Corrick are there for the 2nd year in a row. Busrow Creek Hawk, Wyatt Monin, who was just in the final cast of the World Championship, made it there for the 2nd year in a row. Bad Melonhead with Matt Barnes was there for the 2nd year in a row. We talked about Johnson Creek Gabby already, Nick Emmel.
Mm-hmm.
They're back again. Hillbilly PBR has been there twice. Libby and Maddox Arnett and Mike Arnett are there for the 2nd year in a row. There's a few more here. Hunter Proof Brandy, Limited Edition Dixie, Himes Tree Talking Trixie, Raising Cane, Thunderbirds Dominator, No Limit Sniper, Mayo's Singing Rock, and Robert's Backwoods Quinn from over in South Carolina. All of them ones that have made it back there. It's hard enough to make it once, but to do it 2 times in a row or 2 out of 3 years is impressive in and amongst itself. So congratulations to everyone there getting the finals. It's really hard to do. Over 1,300 dogs qualified, 800 competed in the regions, and you were one of the top 96 this year. So congratulations on being there. For anyone who didn't have a chance to be there and wasn't able to keep up with the event as it was going, there's a lot of coverage from the event that's still out there. The first place I'd point you to is the United Kennel Club's YouTube page. We still have videos from our live show that are on there. We had the Thursday night show, the Midnight Mayhem show that we had Rick Stretch out there doing interviews with the 24 cast winners as they came in. So that's a great watch. I know you really enjoyed watching that one. I've not made it all the way through that one quite yet as of this recording, but we'll get there here this week.
Yeah, and the media team does a good job breaking down just all the final 6 they're putting them in one clip as well, that are separate from the live stream. They're in the live stream, but you can see them separately as well. Yeah.
Then there's the live play-by-play from Saturday night that goes through the round 3 early round, the heads-up matchups, and all the way through the final cast. And the way that they chop it up, you can easily just navigate through there and see if you want to see an interview, if you want to see them talking about a certain dog, you can kind of navigate that whole video and see the highlights or the points that you want to see. So be sure to check out the United Kennel Club YouTube page. There's also going to be some interviews with the top 6, like you said. There's an interview or a little video recap from the weekend. Also an interview with Jeff Rickliffs on there after his win that they conducted. And like we talked about earlier, go to Clayton Stark's YouTube page, Stark's Outdoors, and check out his TOC recap video. He did a good job out there on a couple different casts and get to see some of the winning dogs from the weekend in action. Mm-hmm. So be sure to check those out. Well, now I say that we talk about our TLC regions a little bit. Obviously, those happened before the finals, but the finals is fresh on our mind, and we wanted to get that
It's
and
where
give
it
that
all
its highlight.
starts.
That's right. So let's talk about the regions a little bit. I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle. I want to throw some shout outs to our host clubs and some of the people behind it, and maybe talk about some of the coon scored and that sort of thing. I thought that'd be fun for anybody who maybe was there or maybe deciding what region they want to hunt in next year. So obviously, 804 total entries entered into the regions, and there were 6 regions they could choose from that were pretty much all over the country. No matter where you were, you had a reasonable driving distance to one of these 6 regions. The first one this year was the Northeast Missouri Coon Hunters Association. They're in Kirksville, but the event was actually in La Plata, Missouri, not far from down the road from there. And got to give a shout out to John Higgins and Zach McBee there in that area for putting on that event. They did a great job.
Did, and just very good reports coming out of that region as well.
Tim Gilchrist was our master of hounds from that region. He's our field rep from Iowa. And that was our second biggest region as far as entry numbers go. They had 147 dogs pre-entered, so they advanced 18. Over the course of the weekend, they actually hunted 61 casts with 244 dogs. Only 2 dead casts all weekend out of the 61 casts they had. Only 1 question all weekend, according to Tim. And they did a great job. 273 coon seen, 229 coon scored. That's 3.8 coon scored per cast there at that region. And the cutoff to get through to the finals was 475 plus.
Yeah, that's and that's a good score. Okay, all depends where you are. You might think that's kind of high or whatever to get in, but really not for out there. It's really not that.
That's coon country.
It is.
And honestly, looking at the numbers compared to last year, the numbers of coons scored and seen was significantly down this year, actually. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of the weather that each of the regions followed on Friday night. It had a big effect on some of the hunts.
It is, and it's good to bring that up, because it was pretty much everywhere. Like when I was down in LaGrange, the same thing there. It started storming. It was supposed to be coming in, soon after midnight, and they kind of got lucky. And actually, it was it started pretty heavy while I was there, before they even went out, but it kind of blew over. But it was kind of a rough weekend weather-wise all the way around the country. I'm not sure about Comer, Georgia, but about everywhere else it was.
Next one, LaGrange, Indiana. This was this region had 126 pre-entries. They advanced 15. This is the Northeastern Indiana Coon Hunters Club. It'll be our host club there. And the 2 guys that you're very familiar with, you've worked closely with, live right near, I guess, Jay Miller and Tracy Thompson there near Reading, Michigan. Yeah,
and they worked together a lot to get all the guides on. They didn't use any non-hunting guides. They had they had more than they could use as far as hunting guides go, and they could spread them out pretty easily. It was they even had to turn some hunting guides down.
Yeah. Doug Cundiff, obviously we just talked about him a lot about the TLC finals. He worked this region, came up from Greencastle. They ended up having 218 dogs hunt over the 2-night weekends. That's 55 casts, and they had 2 dead casts, both on Friday night when they were finding some pretty harsh weather. And no questions all weekend, Doug said. So. Great job by the judges in that
made
region.
His job easy.
Absolutely. Over the weekend, out of those 218 dogs and 55 casts, there was 324 coon seen. That was the most coon seen in any region. 240 scored on for our highest average, 4.4 coons scored per cast there in LaGrange.
Yeah.
It was a cutoff of 600 plus to make it through. Of course, only 15 made it through, so it was a very competitive region.
Yeah, and Saturday night ended up being nice and cool, a good night to hunt, after all that rain came through the day before. But, had some good scores. Coons were moving really good the next night, so yeah.
I know we're going to dedicate a whole segment of a podcast of this in the future, but we're looking at some of the coons scored here and talking about how it's down from last year. And after any events like this, you go to Grand American, you hear it, Winter Classic, you hear it, Autumn Oaks, you hear it. One thing that really helps everybody involved, the event officials, the judges, us here at UKC, is when people stay with their cast. And when the coons are down scored, that's a good. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad thing when you see that, but you can really help the validity of these events if you stick around and you're not withdrawing just to be withdrawn. If you stick around with the cast, and especially if you're judging, you've been appointed to judge, stick around and finish that task. Man, it sure goes a long way in putting on a quality event.
For sure, absolutely.
Region 3 was in Mount Gilead, Ohio. Third year in a row they've done it there at the Morrow County Coon Hunters Association. We work closely with Mark Bear and Rick Stretch from that region. They had the highest entry, 173 entries in. Over the weekend, they ended up hunting 261 dogs and 66 casts. Only 3 dead casts out of the 66 casts.
Can't beat it. Can't beat that. That's going to happen anywhere, and we talk about this area being, a mecca for raccoons, but you can't beat that. Yeah. Cannot beat that.
307 coons seen, 251 scored for 3.8 scored per cast. So Mount Gilead, if you go there, you're going to be in some raccoons. So better have your dog ready to tree some. Only 4
That's
questions.
Where the World Hunt's going to be this fall.
I'll be there in just a couple weeks. Black and Tan Days coming up pretty quick. So I'm excited to get over there and the World Finals. I know they're already working on it. They were telling us all their plans at the TOC Finals. So I'm really looking forward to being there.
And they do they're very organized, do a really good job.
Jamie Estep was our field rep there. Dix River Coon Club in Lancaster, Kentucky.
They gave him a hard time over there too. I think I heard some of the stories.
They were ribbing back and forth pretty good. There was a little bit of a rivalry between Ohio and West Virginia. I guess,
I think they pretty much baptized him over
there. Region 4 was back in Lancaster, Kentucky, hosted by the Dix River Coon Club. Jeff Wilson's kind of the one I work with closely there. He does a great job. They hardly use any non-hunting guides either. They pretty much guide themselves. They ended up having 136 entries over the weekend. 222 dogs hunted out of 56 casts, 9 dead casts. So Lancaster, they had some of the worst weather on Friday night, I would say. So that they had quite a few dead casts on Friday night. No questions for the whole weekend though. And there was some coon scored, 162 seen, 128 scored for an average of 2.3 coons scored per cast, and it took 450 plus to make it through.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Sparks and Brandon Scalfor, our master of hounds there, working that event. Brandon, our new one, got to sit in with Curtis and kind of see how these things work. So he'll be more familiar with the.
And it's no secret. We all know anybody that's hunted for a while or hunted around the country knows, you're just not going to score the coon in Kentucky like you are in northern Ohio and northern Indiana, but the way this is set up, somebody can enter a qualified dog in whatever region they want to for whatever reason. And one of the reasons might be that their dog might do better in thinner coon, less
Absolutely.
coon has, so there's a reason why some guys might choose Kentucky over Indiana.
I guarantee there were some people who are just smack dab in between Lancaster and Mount Gilead, and they went to Lancaster for that very reason. Their dog is going to look better when there's only a coon or two to be treed. They got a better chance of getting through there than they do in Mount Gilead in a coon training contest.
Yeah.
Region 5 is hosted by actually the Arkansas State Coon Hunters Association, and they have it there in Conway, Arkansas at the Wildlife Center there in Conway. John Daly has been our point of contact. He's kind of handed over the reins to Travis Goodman. Alan Kalal from Minnesota was our field rep that works that event.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Alan right after that, and he said, hey, that's a great guy he was working with down there, so that's good. Kudos to him.
He was very impressed with him. Yeah. So looks like they're just going to keep on doing the good work there and putting on a quality event. That's a region that had 119 pre-entries over the 2 nights. They hunted 201 dogs and 51 casts and just 5 dead casts out of 51. Took 450 plus to make it through the Conway, Arkansas region. Another place where there was some coon treeing going on. Let's see, 150 coons seen, 130 scored in those 51 casts, 2.5 coons scored per cast. And they have a lot of water there this year, probably more so than usual by quite a bit.
Yeah,
and it had an effect on some of the guiding situations.
Yeah, we've been hearing that from other hunts in that general area, and matter of fact, they had a tornado go through there just the same night, not too far from there.
Yeah. And running it out with Region 6 there in Comer, Georgia. Like you said, they didn't have the bad weather the other places did. It was a little dry. They had some high winds. The storms, for the most part, missed out on them, so they probably had the best weather. But it was funny. I did get a picture from Sharon Foster, Philip Foster's wife, on Saturday night, and they had him and Alan Roberts were working the event, one of our newer field reps there from Southeast Tennessee, and a car had hit a power pole down the road, and the power went out there at the fairgrounds. So send me a picture of they're set up there at the table with some flashlights and candles set up, and I'll look like some kind of seance or something. I don't know what it looked like, but it got me tickled pretty good. If somebody comes in with a
played
question,
around with that one a little bit, probably.
somebody comes in with a question, I guess Philip's gonna be asking questions. Allen's gonna be shining the light in the guy's face, interrogating them or what. But pretty good stuff there. Luckily, it came on in time for all the paperwork they had to do. But Kilgore, Georgia, they were our smallest region down there. They ended up with 103 entries there. That's hosted by the Tri-County Coon Hunters Association. They go to Kilgore, Georgia, which is right by Elberton. They host some major events on there, like the Peach Classic, and they've sometimes had the Georgia State there and different things. We've been down in that area for the World Finals before in the neighboring city, I think. And they do a great job of getting dogs and quality hunting for that area. Over the course of the weekend, 166 dogs went to the woods and 42 cast, and there were 9 dead casts, most of them on Friday night. Seemed like 7 of them. On Saturday, they had a lot better hunting conditions, seemed like. They seen 109 coons, scored on 82 for an average of 2 coons scored per cast, and 350 plus was the cutoff, so still had to do a little bit of coon training to make it through to the finals. It wasn't an easy walkthrough for anybody in any of these regions. So I wanted to give a shout out to all the host clubs out there, to all of the points of contact we have that are putting on these big events. It's not easy to put on a 150, 200 dog hunt anymore. It's hard to get quality guides to put that many dogs in the woods, so we sure appreciate these 6 clubs stepping up to the plate and doing it for us.
Absolutely. Not just that, but it seems like they've taken pride in putting on this event for the Tournament of Champions and have done an excellent job. And, man, like you said, thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody who have made this event such a success. Man, we're ready to shift gears now. We're obviously already in the spring. We've had a bunch of breed days that have already happened. We have more breed days coming up, state championships, and it's time to start working towards the world.
It is, and just one more thing, we talk about the host clubs, we talk about the judges and the guides and everybody else. We would be remiss to not thank all the owners and handlers out there that are getting their dogs qualified for their tournament champions. Thank you all.
Qualifying started now. You have until the end of this year to get your 5 cast wins. Keep up with it in our Coonhound Bloodlines publication. You can see it on ukcdogs.com, and we hope to see you at the TOC finals next year.
Thank you for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow so you don't miss any of our new episodes or content.